So I'm here with Richie Lee, Senior Designer of Environments here at Shoot Gerdeman. My name's Max Miller. I'm the Manager of Marketing and Brand Strategy at Shoot Gerdeman. And today, we're just going to have a conversation about our most recent insight, the drive-through of the future, and why it shouldn't be what you think it is. So let's talk about brand. So drive-through is something that a lot of people haven't innovated over the years, ever since its inception. I mean, you think about how innovative it was when it came around and how much it just really hasn't changed since then. And not that it even needs to change per se, but there's a huge element of brand experience that's not getting touched when it comes to drive-through, right? You know, something as simple as a My Pleasure and a drive-through could be the difference between somebody going there and somewhere else. Talk a little bit about why you think that brand experience might be lacking in drive-through.
So brand experience is an important thing in drive-through, mainly not because of like how it looks as much as how the customer feels when they finally got their product. I think there's one or two things that are top of mind for a drive-through consumer, and that's, you know, efficiency and reliability. You're there to get your food, and you're there to get it well executed. You want it to be 100% every single time. You don't want to have to turn around and, you know, ask for more sauce, or, you know, have the order messed up and have to go back through the drive-through again. That's a horrible experience. And more often than not, a bad experience will affect you way more than a good experience. So brands have to make sure they nail the drive-through experience, because it has so much room to really mess up.
That's the other thing too about the brand experience as it pertains to drive-through, is so much goes into everything you're saying, the efficiencies and the reliability and dependability of it, that extra mile starts to go missing. So one of the things that we thought of, and then we're going to get into the design in a second, but one of the things that we thought of was the fact that for drive-through, there really is not a one solution to fit all. It just doesn't exist, right? Because what you're going to have is you're going to have a shopper in California, right? You're going to have a guest in Oklahoma. You might have a guest somewhere in Anchorage, Alaska. Every single one of them is going to be different.
And even on a smaller level on that, within just the city, you're going to have, you know, the main city center, you're going to have the suburbs, you're going to have people more in the rural areas. Like, you got to infill all of that, and, you know, maybe the one location does not fit all, even on the microscopic level.
So we developed an idea around something called a QSR ecosystem, right? We know it's a little bit of a buzzword, but before I get into that, talk a little bit about what the QSR ecosystem is to you and how we've been able to make that make sense.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, a lot of components in it that I think people are familiar with. Like, a lot of times, the term ghost kitchen has been kicked around, and there has been, you know, speculation more recently about, is this something that's working? Is it a value investment for the brands that actually pays off? Like, people are starting to bring up ghost kitchens everywhere, which, you know, they worked during COVID, and people thought they were going to be a long-term thing, but now they're starting to die back down because of the demand of people wanting to be out again. But, you know, it does not need to go away. There's value in it, right? It's doing something for the entire brand that you may not need hundreds of locations of, but, you know, like, with the increasing pressures in drive-through, like main locations and third-party delivery, I think there's a good value in investing in very specific ghost kitchens that learn to evolve with today's technology that can then help the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the other two ideas that make sense in the QSR ecosystem, the drive-through only concept and then the primary concept with dine-in.
Yeah.
What is their relationship like? And can you have both? Should you have all? What's your take on that?
I mean, it depends on the brand. You can have tiers, you can have 1 through 5 tiers, right? But in our proposal, we talk about the idea of having a drive-through only location and a dine-in only location, and then a middle tier, which is both dine-in and drive-through. The idea is that, you know, you're really using your real estate strategy to focus. You know, the important word here is that brands have to learn how to focus their money. You know, like, you don't want an empty dining room, so focus your money into a dining room where you think it's gonna work, it's gonna bring the biggest brand presence and experience. and let the drive-through only and then the dual purpose one kind of be assisting that, right? You want to take pressure off of your main drive-through. I was looking at the idea of like, all right, people are measuring the success of locations based on one pro forma. What if we stopped doing that and said, you're measuring the pro forma of an area? Like, how does it all help each other make more money? You know, like, if one drive-through is full, how does another one start to take on the pressure and, you know, even support the third-party drivers who are then, you know, just like waiting in line at the one location?
I think the other thing to that too is there's a significant amount of time investment that brands need to put into their real estate decision making. You have to get to know the community well enough to kind of understand what that community is going to do. I mean, Richie, you said it best. I mean, even on a micro level, certain suburbs within a city might do things differently than others, and you have to factor that into your site selection, your site planning, and your, you know, ultimately your design, because the drive-through of the future is going to be very reliant on what people want and where they want it. And some may want drive-through only. It may be an area where it's high traffic, people want to get home, they want to get off work, they want to get stuff, take it to the house. And some may be a little bit more leisure, right? It might be nicer. It might be a nicer area, it might be nicer outside, better weather, something that you can actually incorporate that exterior and interior design to tell a fuller, more engaging brand story than if you were to just have a drive-through only or a ghost kitchen type of experience.
Absolutely.
So let's get into the design now. So you created this amazing view for what this drive-through the future could look like, right? Not that it should look like this, but it could look like. Talk a little bit about what was your inspiration behind it. What are some of the key factors that you want people to take a look at and think of? I'll share some of mine as well, but you know, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, the design could look like whatever the brand wants it to look like, but like some of the key components that we wanted to introduce is that the availability of safety for the people who are on the lot. You know, there's a lot of traffic, there's a lot of cars. Increasing car traffic just only means increasing danger for even the workers, let alone people that want to walk on site. So you design a site that is safe, you know, that's one thing. And then you design a site that is conducive to both or multiple dining experiences. So you have your interior dining experience or you have your exterior dining room, or exterior dining lawn, let's call it. So how do cars start to pull up and eat on the spot and not feel like they have to go somewhere else, you know? Sometimes I have to pull into a parking lot nearby because, you know, the parking lot I'm in is, you know, isn't as hospitable, or there's a lot of cars just packed there. I don't want to go back to the office to eat, but I don't want to eat there either. So how do we make an experience for them that, you know, is entertaining? And entertainment doesn't have to mean media based, right? Entertainment can mean it's a byproduct of a lot of things that are happening.
And the other thing about the entertainment point that we talked about, and I think is a major thesis of this POV, is that the brand has to bring your brand experience to the customer. The customer is not going to come to you to get it. You have to bring it to them. You have to go that extra mile to give them that differentiated experience. And it's hard to do, and if it was easy, everybody would do it. But in the drive-through of the future, that's one of the ways that you can differentiate yourself.
It is the future, you know, we're allowed to take that liberty of being like Jetsons, you know, come up with something crazy and cool and something will eventually stick. But, you know, like when designing a drive-through, you know, you want some things top of mind, you know, safety is one. So you don't want something that distracts the customer. So it's all about finding a balance, you know, like we want this canopy and design to be something that inspires the customer, you know, something that they can feel confident in the experience that they're getting, the brand that's coming to them, but yet we want it to make it as a reliable experience as possible.
I think another factor that was drawn into your design is through this view that you've created, you're reducing the perceived wait time for the guests because there's things to do. You have the ponder parking element, right? You have the exterior dining element. You have the exterior dining options in the car or at the exterior dining tables, right? So there's this element of versatility and, you know, consumer choice that helps them feel like it's on their terms, but it's still entertaining. And you're gonna, again, reduce that perceived wait time, especially for brands that may be watching this that make everything to order, so your times are a little bit longer. This is something just to keep in mind, is how can we make the brand feel like an entertainment center for the guests, so that when they leave, it wasn't really 15 minutes. It was in real time, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like something a little bit more fun and energetic and unique. So I guess I'll wrap it all up with this. If you had 3 things that you wanted people to take away from this, what would it be?
I think the openness, to adapt to the growing age of information. So specifically the use of AI to assist an ecosystem, right? The ecosystem might have not worked because it was all human-based. We can only work so fast and learn so fast, but with the assistance of AI, where calculations, are just like that, you might be able to evolve and to change something that didn't work before into something that works now. Another one is not sacrificing the brand experience for cost. A lot of times, don't let the interior dining room lesson be something that says, hey, we don't need to spend any money at all. Brands need to invest into an experience, whether now it shifts to the outside. You got to make your outside look nice, right? It needs to be a presence not just for people on the site, but for your community, something that they can be proud of and confident in dining at. And for a third, I would say safety is probably one of the biggest priorities of both the consumer and the worker there, right? So you provide a safer location for the consumer, they're going to feel more confident, they're going to bring their families on there, and then you provide a safer location for your employees, they're going to be more efficient, they're just going to deliver the product on a way better level than anyone else would.